Right, right.
So it's one of the things. But talking about Pedro Pascal, we had casting news come out for one of his other projects, which is The Last of Us over on HBO. And for those who watched the show, and I'm going to try really hard to do no spoilers on any of this to really dive in deep, but there's a character named Abby that is a big role. She's a big character, one of the main characters of what would be season 2 of The Last of Us. And it's who's going to play Abby. And there's been all kinds of rumors, and the top two that are still sitting there are one, I still hear about Florence Pugh, and the
Yes.
one that dropped this week was Kaitlyn Dever.
Who they say is now kind of leading the charge for being cast.
Yes. So, and what's funny is that's who I wanted to be Ellie. And there were a lot of people who wanted that to be Ellie. It wasn't just me.
You aren't the only one. Yeah, she was a highly touted candidate for the role of Ellie because one, she's a good actress. Like we've liked her ever since she was in a season of Justified, I think.
Yeah, she was awesome on Justified as like a 10-year-old girl or whatever she was.
I think it's that show that people were like, that's Ellie. Like
Yeah,
one just with her attitude and like she looks similar.
she
Like
does.
yeah, nothing against the actress they went with. We've had our Last of Us conversation. We loved her performance, but like just looks wise, she looks more like the video game Ellie. So she was like a choice. I think she kind of got aged out of the role because it took so long to finally get that show formalized and actually happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a rumor out there, and like you mentioned, Florence Pugh, her name is still kind of there because there was a rumor before the strikes. She was like literally offered the role,
Uh-huh.
and but then when the strikes happened, you had to shut all that stuff down, like casting and things. So I don't know if things have changed for her since then, or for them. Like I don't know. We'll definitely see. I mean, there's a third name even out there, like Shannon Barry has been thrown around a lot. And
I think
if you
that's been more fans than actual talks.
anything, that's a fan thing mostly. But it's like if you look, and I think um, what's his name, the Last of Us creator. Why can't I think?
Neil Druckmann.
See, I don't know any names today. You got them all in your head though. That's like
As long as one of us got some, man, we're good.
yeah. um there was some point where like Neil Druckmann followed her on Instagram and everyone was like, oh, what's going on,
Yeah.
Shannon? If you guys don't know who she is, if you Google her, I'm sorry, she looks exactly like Abby. Um so that would be something to keep your eye on. But yeah, Kaitlyn Dever is the name right now.
I I don't know who Shannon Barry is. I never watched The Wilds.
Yeah, I've never seen her act either.
From a look appearance, 100%. And I love Florence Pugh and Kaitlyn Dever. From an appearance standpoint, which I feel is extremely important for Abby. Because Abby, for those that don't know who didn't play the game, Abby is kind of a buff human being, a buff woman. She is very muscular because of the world that she's growing up in and the missions that she goes on. She needs to be able to defend herself and be able to get her business done. So she is physically built in that way to be imposing on whatever she needs to go towards. And that's important for that character. And I feel like you have to have that. If you throw a Kaitlyn Dever in her current physique, like I just don't see Abby. Like I don't see that working. I mean, they'd have to change the character and I don't want them to. I know Abby has a lot of haters out there. I loved Abby. And by the end of the game, I almost loved Abby more than anyone else. So I am definitely an Abby like defender in that. And I just feel like that's such a huge portion of her character that if you take that away from her, like I don't know how they do the things that she's going to need to do.
Yeah, if you're going with Kaitlyn Dever, let's get her in the gym now.
I mean, yeah, you really have to. Shannon Barry, I don't know her 100% physique, but she definitely was bigger
Well, just
and not
yeah,
in a bad way. I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything. She just definitely looked like she had the frame that she could be imposing as Abby needs to be.
yeah, yeah.
And you need that. That's the essence of the character is to be imposing.
I think, and also part of this to me is, um, they're going to, and I'm going to need you to look up another name because I don't know her name. The actress who played uh Ellie in the show, and we should know it.
Oh, Bella Ramsey.
Damn it! How do you got all these? My brain is empty tonight. I'm sorry.
Bourbon.
um, Bella Ramsey, correct. I think part of it too is going to be on a scale, like we're scaling the size of Bella Ramsey to what your Abby's going to be. Because in real life, Bella Ramsey's a small person.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine her growing too much between now and season 2. I mean, she's going to get older, but she's not going to get bigger. In the game,
She did.
she did. Ellie was small of frame, but then by the time you got to part 2, she kind of became an adult. In more or less, early 20s or whatever the case is. I mean, Bella Ramsey might be 21, but she still looks like a little small person. So Kaitlyn Dever probably in real life is larger than Bella Ramsey, I would imagine. So I think as long as Abby is larger than Ellie, I think it'll be okay. But then again, this is all still speculation. We don't know if Kaitlyn Dever is even going to get the role. I think she's definitely got the acting chops to do it. So it's just kind of interesting. The most interesting thing about it is she was the fans' number one choice as Ellie.
Yeah.
And then having her play Abby, like that's just gonna be some crazy like karma-ish style, whatever. It'll just be fun. That'll be a fun fact for years.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it was surprising to see her pop up there, but I'm always pleasantly surprised when she does. I mean, I obviously everyone talked about, we didn't talk about it here, but everyone talked about No One Will Save You over on Hulu, where she doesn't have any lines, dialogue, really. She has like one line in the whole movie, an alien invasion film. It's pretty solid. To check out why it wasn't released in theater to make them some money is beyond me. I feel like they lost a lot of money by not putting that in theaters, but whatever. I don't work for Disney. But yeah, I'm definitely curious, and I'm down for whatever ride they're going to give me, and I trust whatever they're going to cast. I wasn't the biggest fan of Bella Ramsey when they cast her. She won me over as that season. I definitely understood why they chose her in that role. Yes, as you said, between part 1 and part 2, Ellie is the game character. They definitely aged her up over that 5 years between. I don't know what they're going to do with a real person to age her up. And how much she's going to physically change to look older, or if she's still going to look like a little girl doing the things that she's going to need to do, but that is what it is. All I know is that this week the other news that was announced that we really weren't going to talk about was The Last of Us Part 2 remaster is coming out in January, and I can't wait to play that game again.
Yeah, I think they're cashing in on the success of, who knows if The Last of Us 2 was ever going to get a remaster, but I think just now with that game and series being a household name, and like old people know what it is. People who would never play a video game know what The Last of Us is. I think it's like why not make a bunch more money? And still to this day, The Last of Us 2 is one of the best games I've ever played. It's a beautiful gaming experience. That one and the first one together are like probably the best 1-2 punch of video game like ever, maybe. So why not get that?
And anyone who you hear tells you that it's not a great game is a troll.
Yes.
They're just mad about stupid stuff. And I mean, not to say that their opinion's not valid, but it's not. When it comes to that game is a masterpiece, and I'm unapologetic about that. That is one of the greatest games I've played. And I can't wait to dive into it again come January, where I only have to pay $10 to get the upgrade and play it again on my PS5. So anyway, let's wrap this up, Don. I feel like this news dump is taking forever, as we expected it to do, even though we said, let's do this quick so we can play video games. But